Here we are.
Someone in the bathroom?
All right, so let's call it to order. I sent out the minutes from our last meeting. Can I have a motion to approve those?
I didn't even look at them, but.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, thanks. Sorry, the commissioners aren't here today, which is.
Haven't seen anything.
So, let's do the shelter reports. Let's start with the cold weather shelter.
Jessica.
Jessica, I couldn't think of her name, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jennifer.
I was gonna call her, yeah, something. Jessica, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we opened the cold weather shelter on December 4th, 2026. That was, or 2025. That was our first night. As you all, and I think I heard you all talking, you already know that we open when the wind chill or the feels like temperature is 25 degrees or below. So far it's been a busy season. It's been a busy start because we had a very, very cold December. We've been open 31 nights. We've had 23 male and 6 women in our shelter uniquely, so 29 total individuals that have come through. Our fullest night has been 14 individuals. We do have 26 beds, so we still have, you know, beds open and ready for people to sleep warmly in them. We are transporting people out to the site in Mahoning Valley, so the transport starts at 5:15. The last vehicle leaves at 5:45. We are doing double runs if need be. Picks up at the Caboose Pavilion down by Dunbar's. So if you guys get any questions from anybody needing shelter, you can give them that information, but we do our best to get that out to everybody that needs it. We are working with other resources in the area. We've already gotten one of our guests placed with Family Promise. We got one placed with Peaceful Nights into their transitional program. We've had 2 gone to detox and are out and doing well. We pray that they're able to you know, remain sober and hopefully make the decision to go to rehab. We have another one that just left for rehab this week. We have our youngest guest just got her first job and she's going to start on Monday. So we're going to be working with her to make sure she has a ride there and back. We are running open houses throughout the month of January every Sunday. So we have 2 remaining, January 18th and January 25th. They are from 12:30 to 2. There are no guests in the shelter at that time, so anyone in the community that is curious or wants to see the site or, you know, just stop in and ask questions is more than welcome to come. And I heard there was some concern with participation in the pit count. We do plan to be open on Wednesday night, even if the temperatures do rise above 25, just because we know how important that count is. And we will make sure that we are staffed and you know, able to do that. As always, we could always use more volunteers. We're really struggling with filling our spots. We have a lot of the same people working, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 shifts a week just to you know, make sure that we can remain open when the temps are low. And as always, community has been very generous to us. We're very, very thankful for all the donations, the meals, monetary donations, prayers. It's been a great start to the season so far. And I can take any questions if you guys have them.
Actually, I do have them. Jessica, it's Kim. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm so happy to hear you're going to be open that Wednesday. Because they are calling for such cold temperatures that evening, let's say one of the teams that's out in the street actually locates or identifies someone who is indeed street homeless. And in talking with them, they would be interested in going to someplace warm. And it might be after you normally lock your doors. Can we call somebody if we can get that person there?
Yes. You can give them my cell phone number. You should have that. I will be there that night, till at least 10 o'clock, probably even later. So, yes, we can make that happen.
Okay, wonderful. Good to know. We can tell the teams that. Because as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter to me if we count that individual as street homeless. I'd rather count him as being sheltered that evening at that time.
Right. Yep.
Right, you wanna give, Family Promises, family
Yeah.
shelter report?
We have 31 individuals at our regular shelter now. There's 13 adults and the rest children. And over in the cold weather shelter, we are currently housing 11 folks. And everything, it's going pretty smooth over there.
Our cold weather sheltered Family Promise is, open until March 31st. We're not, we're open 24 hours. We have, well, I don't know, Yvonne, our case manager from there, is here, do you want to explain the program? She's gonna kill me.
Well, like a 90-day program, you know, they do classes over there for budgeting and self-sabotaging classes while they are looking for work, or if they have income. Most of them have income over there right now. They just needed a place to sit down and get it together, you know. It's a good group, really good group, you know, they seem motivated, you know.
You're doing good work over there, Yvonne. Also, that shelter is also a drop-in center for the daytime. So that if anybody needs to come and, warm up, whatever, it's open during the daytime, but for folks to stay there, it's by intake only, and we're almost at capacity now, so. And we'll operate until March 31st. Any questions for Family Promise? And we'll be participating in the pit count as well. Okay, Action Committee report?
Okay.
Since our last meeting, which was November 21st, we've had 48 call-ins. And we keep records of that. Of that 48, 7 were actually street homeless. We've enrolled 19 households since November 21st. We've had 7 HMIS referrals, and people call 211. We get the referral and we have the case notes from their phone interview. And then I'll call them up and get more information and see how we can help. And right now, we're serving 34 different households. And that's it.
You know, during that period and over the last quarter of 2025, we were fortunate enough where we had monies where we could continue to help with homeless prevention and rapid rehousing. Not as much rapid rehousing because it's so difficult for them to find and rent apartments. They're just not available. We all know what they deal with. They're up against probably 20 other people for the same unit. But we did homeless prevention. We're averaging, you know, possibly, I think we're averaging about 10 per month.
10
We're
months.
able to assist. And the only reason I was able to do that is I had an open position that I was able to reallocate some monies from an open position and continue to help with homeless prevention. Right now, we are working from a waiting list because of the situation with the budgets and everything. So, we are very limited in funding right now. I think one other thing to mention before I give it back is, you all know the point in time count is going to be next Wednesday. I have sent letters out to the contacts that each agency has asked us to send it to. We are asking partners to, I think by now everybody knows, we don't want you to go through your records and dig through and give us surveys or interview forms on every homeless individual you worked with in the last week, within the week, within even the day before the count. It has to be people that you know are homeless the day of the count. Very essential, very essential. And I will try to, as I explained before, I will take those surveys and compare them and make sure we are not doing duplication. We'll compare to the cold weather shelters surveys. We ask them to share theirs with us, even though they submit a slightly different survey than the unsheltered. But they've always been generous to share with us so we can do that comparison. But if anybody has any questions about the count, even on if you're at the point, should I fill out a survey for this individual or not? The day after the count, feel free to call either Jan or take calls prior to or after.
Any questions for Kim and Action Committee and point in time? I'm going to do Housing Committee.
Sure. So at the last meeting, I reported out that we didn't have much success whatsoever with regards to the landlord engagement. So one of the things that had been mentioned is Jenna and Kim had a conversation or had been in touch with Tom Campbell. So I reached out to Tom Campbell, who works at the United Way of Monroe. And they do have funds available for some type of landlord engagement that other agencies could participate in and be involved with. He would be interested in being on the Zoom at some point. And he said the spring, let it be until the spring. So possibly the next meeting or the meeting after. And he would talk about the program and how other nonprofits could access those funds. And so, at a given point in time, we'll set that up possibly next week. Our next housing meeting will be on Thursday, the 26th of March. We'll be doing more of a short-term, long-term goal-oriented meeting. So that'll be at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment, anything anybody's interested in, any questions? Everybody ready? I think that in conjunction with the housing committee, I'm gonna go left here a little bit, sorry. I hope that through the task force, we can get and engage landlords. Because our folks may look horrible on paper, absolutely, they do, but once, like, for instance, if they go through Family Promise, they've received financial literacy classes. They've learned how to budget, they have learned what it's like to not have a roof over their heads. They're very appreciative. They would make the best tenants that you could possibly want if somebody would give them a chance. And my hope is that we need to get the word out and corral some of these private landlords to look beyond credit score and past evictions, because again, I know through Family Promises program, these people have worked really, really hard to rebuild everything. And that's something I'd like us to work on. Anybody have any comments for that or?
When I talk to our people that call in
Right.
and they have situations where their credit scores are 400, when they're coming off of an eviction, I tell them when they look on the websites, look for the private landlords, stay away from Empire and BlackRock and the big companies. Said you might have a better chance of talking to a sympathetic landlord. Once they get to know you, you have a better chance of getting an apartment. And Empire right now is putting right in their listings, when they give the information about the apartment, it'll say net income per month required of $3,000. Some of them are $3,600. and they'll say no bad background checks or evictions in the past 5 years, otherwise don't even apply. And they say it right there. So, they're pretty much confirming what we already knew. But I do encourage all of the people to go for the small mom and pop landlords. And it's up to them to talk their way into it, pretty much.
You know, and even when the folks have the income and they're willing to even give an extra security deposit. Many of us, we have a family, what are they, 201 days?
Oh, yeah. Over 200.
If you spent Memorial Day, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and Christmas with us.
That's a long time.
You've been through our program twice. So, they're ideal, they have the income. I want them to be able to move out, but then we're faced with the situation, we have a long waiting list. But am I gonna put kids out on the street? And that's what makes this heart wrenching. What's the turnaround on vouchers?
So one of the things, it's funny that you were saying that, because I was trying to give you guys an idea. One of the things that's come out with HUD pretty recently is a number of housing authorities are having what's called shortfall problems. They aren't funding the amount necessary. HUD is not funding the amount necessary in order to meet your goals with regards to the vouchers. So we have about 430 ballpark vouchers that we should be eligible for. We fund about 360, 70 in that area. And at that pace, we are still losing money because the rents are so high. So at some point, probably in 2027, we will probably cross that threshold where other housing authorities are already crossing, and HUD has been publishing this because the term is being used what's called shortfall. And that means you don't have enough money that we're giving you. HUD's not giving you, the housing authority, enough money to be able to meet your vouchers. So you have to keep cutting back on the vouchers because the rents are increasing. And because HUD has not increased that allotment, it becomes then a death spiral. And I say that because what also generates the number, if you can increase your number of vouchers, you can increase your admin costs. If you're decreasing the number of vouchers, then you're decreasing your admin costs. Because it's not done by, so in some aspects, we are losing out, the housing authority is losing out, and that becomes like a difficult. Now, we should be okay to stay around that, hovering around that 360, 370 mark. But that's really, I don't know for how long, and if rents keep increasing. Now, the hope is that if you've been paying attention to the federal government, there is some things that are moving or being proposed, at least at the national level, to help with home ownership, and that may ease up some of the rental market. And the whole idea is to try to decrease the rental market because the rents are still increasing. So it's the best I can give you.
Anybody have any other thoughts?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have two questions. The first one's for Family Promise. Are you guys seeing, like, when you accept people into your program, do you see them coming back every night? Or are you finding that, they may be there one night and maybe not the next night, and then they might come back? Like, are there beds being held for them if they're making that choice to
Well,
kind of sleep?
they don't actually leave. I mean, they're allowed to leave, certainly, but
Okay,
they don't leave.
okay, okay.
They move
My
they
next
move by
question.
curfew. So they're in by curfew.
Okay, very good. My next question, I'm not sure if it would be for Rob or Kim, But PHFA recently, I don't know if you guys work with PHFA or not, but they had recently released some correspondence about a grant program available to developers, nonprofits, and local partners to build rental units and rehab existing units. Is that an option for Carbon County?
I know you want.
We
Yeah,
vote for public.
if I remember correctly, the information said it wasn't a grant, it was a no interest loan that was being offered using some of the ARP funds, the recovery funds that were available. And the amount of money I think was being offered, or I know there was like, it was total dollars like 35 million, but I don't recall what the cap was, which I think was around $200,000. And, you know, if there needs to be some rehab done, it would probably be much more of an investment that would be needed. And I could say right now that the housing authority, we're not looking to either rehab or do more housing in the very near future. Only because the cost of housing is so expensive. And there may not be enough dollars around to be able to assist. And because of, that's one. And then two, is I just don't know where HUD is going with regards to HUD funds. And that's probably the biggest nuance. There's a lot of chatter going on that there could even be limits to the amount of time people are in housing. That's definitely being tossed around and being considered. Because we've had people, it's a catch-22. We've had people in housing since some of the housing started, like Gypsy Hill and Palmer House. When those buildings were started, we've had some people who've lived there their entire time that those buildings were actually started. So what HUD is trying to do, at least having a conversation about, is that there would be time limits for certain populations. That's what they're
Cool.
discussing in order for people to be moving in and out. Where people would go, that would even cause more of a strain on the rental market.
Right, right. Okay. Very good, thank you.
And I'll take it from even a different angle. When we had started this group and the housing committee had started, I was in the hope, very hopeful that we could have had a long-term goal of finding groups that wanted to invest in development. We're such a small agency, we don't have the capability of doing that ourselves, but there are housing groups out there that do build and can go after loans and grants like that. And if we could have linked up with one of those as a long-term goal down the road, but not something that I see happening in the immediate future. Plus, the interest of those groups now could be put on hold until they know what's up with HUD and some of the changes that are being recommended. True. Yeah. And I don't know if that was the same one that was just recently, because I didn't get to read the article. But I just recently received PHFA's announcement of the home monies as well. Was that
I
the
think it
same
was all
one?
grouped in.
It's all grouped in?
35
Okay.
million.
Because I know we work with the Pocono Mountain United Way. They have gone after home for good monies in the past, or fair monies. And we've had regional homeless prevention and what's the other, I always forget the word. Prevention and, yeah, I can't remember the retention program that they work over the Pocono Mountains communities, and we're the Carbon County contact with that. But, and we just recently were able to access nearly $10,000 of the fair monies that weren't spent in one of the other counties, that we could help 5 or 6 people from our waiting list. So that was good, but I don't know if they're having the opportunity to go after some new ones, the contracts we have. I think they want those money spent by February 27th. But we do partner with Pocono Mountain United Way on fair and the home. I'm sorry, not home, Home for Good. We had. Not for development, that's, no. That was a sidetrack, sorry.
Alrighty, yeah, I mean, we definitely need more housing, we need more landlords. Cause this is where we're at.
Well, I even think we were talking after, I put Commissioner Shafranco on the line here, but we were talking even after the last meeting, and he had even said, which I thought was interesting, had said, geez, if you could just even find a developer interested enough in bringing reasonable senior rental housing, you know, that isn't like, there, that's right. You know, that could easily, that there's a lot of people, like my mother, who is 100 years old, still in the homestead, who might be interested in purchasing into one of those places. If it were local and they wouldn't have to travel too far, or their families wouldn't have to travel too far, there weren't outrageous HOA requirements on what you could paint your front doors, what color you could paint your front doors, but it was an interesting thought that there might actually be, you know, that could open up, you know, some access in the area. I thought, geez, that would be a wonderful idea. We have a large senior population in our county.
Check that out, Rob.
Yeah.
Most of our housing is senior housing.
Right, right.
The other thing I keep thinking about, is anybody from the United Way on, and no, I know,
I'm here, it's Marcia.
Marcia, I know Gina had kept mentioning the numbers. I'd be curious to know what type of numbers, if they have from those rent assistance dollars, because, you know.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting pretty close to a year out, and I do think when it gets back to a normal rent assistance amount that's in the area, I do think that will help ease up the cost of the rental market. I just don't see that increasing it because, you know, there isn't other funders who are providing rent assistance for the population that we're talking about. And it's
Right.
just a normal amount.
I do think they have their final numbers done now. Gina was away at a conference, so I will check in with her. I think the ERAP final reports are done. If not done, they will be shortly, but I think they are. So just a couple things I wanted to add real quick. I know we're at time probably, but when you guys were talking about, you know, trying to engage with local landlords who might be a little bit more lenient about qualifications and things like that. When I did reentry here in the county, I mean, I worked with some of the hardest to place in housing with criminal backgrounds and drug, you know, and substance abuse and just poor credit. And I mean, you name it. And I found speaking on behalf of those individuals, it kind of worked a little bit better with the landlords because they were hearing it from someone who had built a relationship with them and could speak to the classes that they participated in and the progress that they were making. And they had a very specific housing reentry plan. So that I think, you know, those of you who are doing case management with the unhoused that are looking for places, I think, you know, you kind of speaking on their behalf could really work because it's better than them just saying, oh, I did this, this, and this. But now you have somebody to back that up and certificates and different things that you can prove that they participated in these different types of activities. And then just one last point is my AmeriCorps members down in the Lehigh Valley are working very closely with Family Promise down there, Ripple Community Inc., Conference of Churches, and Children and Youth on a very unique new housing project. I have 2 members that are serving, and one of them, their specific role is to engage with landlords, talk to developers, and do those types of things to try and find places that can be, you know, do some maintenance on them to turn them into safe and affordable housing. And then the other members doing solely outreach. So there is some exciting things going on surrounding housing and just working in different models. So I just wanted to add that. And, you know, if anybody's interested in learning what they're working on down there, I mean, I know, Rob, you have a bunch of contacts in the Lehigh Valley. And Kathy, you could reach out to your counterpart Family Promise down there. But it is a unique program that's being spearheaded by Lehigh County Children and Youth, using the members. And it's a great program. Like, it's not going to happen in one service term, but it's something that they're moving forward with, and they got a lot of great things on the horizon. So I just wanted to add that.
Sounds good. Is there anything else anybody else has? Okay, let's look at our next meeting. And before our next meeting, I'm going to try and reach out to some of these landlords once again and see if they'll come and participate and then just give us an idea of their requirements and are they actually written in stone and what they're looking for. Let's see.
Kevin, real quick, I'm new to this in September. One of the problems that I'm having with our families, like this is like immediate stuff, you know. I have two that have to move because the landlords have increased the rent. One has increased over 600 a month and another is over 400 a month. It's not sustainable enough. And I'm sure y'all heard this before. And it's very easy for the court of public opinion, get a job, get a job, get a job. Well, that's all great and dandy. They're willing to go to work, but they're not even making enough to make rent. So where do we all go from here? Like, we're not, I mean, it would be great to have other kinds of housing opportunities. However, down the road, that would take months. So, and right now I'm dealing with them in the here and now.
You know, and even though some rents are coming down, I hear what you're saying. I wish there was an answer. As we were talking, not that I wasn't listening, Rob, but as Rob was talking, because I was listening, and Marcia, I just pulled up Zillow. And some of the rents for like a 3-bedroom in Esquehoning is like $1,200 plus utilities. So if you have, you know, have a family of like 5 and your income, you know, it doesn't work out. It's tough.
We run into that problem all the time because a lot of people come, they don't have vehicles, so they
Right.
don't have much to choose from in Escahoning. You know, there's McDonald's, there's Turkey Hill. They're the ones that constantly hire. There's a plastics factory that hires every once in a while. You're lucky if you get in there. But everywhere else, you can't afford to feed a family of 5 and pay rent.
Exactly.
It's impossible. So, yeah, I don't know.
As you said, people are working and they will take the full-time hours, but some of the employers won't give them the full-time.
That
Exactly.
too, yeah.
They
And
don't want
it's
to pay the
great,
benefits.
and it's great for everybody to say, take the bus to Lehigh, and well, you can get a job, but the buses stop running. Those places down on 443, they aren't all 9 to 5 jobs,
Night shift.
and let alone pay what somebody would need to actually sustain housing. So
Maybe I can have, Larissa Kimmel, she's the transportation ambassador for Carbon County. That's I don't know, like she's with, MHDS. She's actually on our board. I'm gonna reach out to her, maybe have her come and explain the transportation system, because I looked at those bus schedules and I can't.
we've had them come to our.
We had
It-
we
Go ahead.
had Lanza come
Yeah.
into our office. We were able to add a bus stop in front of our office in the
Great.
last year that not only addresses us, but right next door, we have MHDS and we have Ethos for mental health. So we wanted to try to understand all of this and really legitimately, I don't know how anybody out there in the world could understand this because like on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's one way, on a Tuesday and Thursday, it's another way. But again, it only stops running at a certain time. There's no evening time whatsoever. So I think Commissioner Sofranco was part of us doing that. And I think maybe even bringing somebody from Atlanta, actually, we were able to coordinate that. The actual people from from Lanza come to a meeting and be able to try to help everyone kind of understand it, because it is beyond, and then they have schedules, not every stop is on the schedule. Like, how do you give a schedule, but they don't even have every stop on, and they don't add, they're not gonna add every stop, they say. So it really makes it, I think no one has really taken advantage of the stop because it's so messed up in terms of even as an agency trying to schedule, wait a minute, what day of the week it is. Okay, well, today's this kind of riding, but if you go on the other day, it's this kind of ride. It really is quite complicated.
Because I was gonna mention two things.
Well, we were just at the Chamber of Commerce meeting this past week and somebody else was there and she had stated that they're working on looking at the stops and they're really digging into this and they have a transportation meeting, that committee that they meet. I don't know if you guys are all on that. But I know that they're meeting again and they are looking into the stops and trying to, because they were saying the same thing. It sounded, it's very similar with the scheduling, the stops. It's just not really.
So I have two thoughts. I mean, and some of it I've already said before in the past, but it just begs repeating. First things first, because the immediacy, the only other options that I could kind of throw out there is if there's any way that maybe they can get into shared housing. They can bring somebody in who can help pay the rent and support. And I don't know the circumstances.
Right.
And that's always fraught with other issues involved with that. too.
Yes.
But that's just, there's extenuating circumstances, extenuating times. And then the other thing that I keep thinking about is, I know Atlanta with the overhead costs, it becomes such a struggle. And one of the difficulties that we have here in Carbon County is the lack of like college-oriented aspects. So my mind has always been towards working towards seniors to be more Uber drivers, because Uber or any type of Lyft is not a resource that is utilized up here because of a certain population. But maybe if there was an older adult group that would be interested in taking that on, I mean, I just throw that out there because then it could be income for the older adult, but then it could also be transportation for the individuals involved. Now, again,
It's expensive.
well,
I pay for Uber rides to my office, and because of us being so rural, like one round trip for one appointment.
but I think it's
It's
expensive
crazy.
because it's not necessarily people in the area who are then being able to do it. The idea is to get people in the area to be those Uber drivers. And that's where I think the expense comes from. I may be wrong, but that's what I think it is because people are coming up from maybe, let's say, the Lehigh Valley or coming down from other areas. But that would be the thought process, because I don't think it would be that costly if there was, you know, a senior group that was.
It would have to be a private senior group doing it
Right,
on the
Uber,
side,
because
not
Uber's
involved
takes
with
mileage.
Uber. It would have to be,
It's prices.
it's like a volunteer with little pay for retired persons.
But if you go, and we looked into this.
On top of that.
And we looked into that in the past, but when you get into the volunteer aspect, then the insurance piece becomes a little bit more of a liability. And if at least if you're into some, insurance is gonna be an issue no matter what, period, regardless of anything. But at least if you're involved in one of the national entities, it becomes a little bit less burdensome.
Yeah.
Not huge, but it's just an option to explore.
Kim, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You drove for Lyft at one point. How much is it? Do you remember?
This seems to be a little bit cheaper for most of the clients, but again, I didn't get a lot of clients up here. I usually went down to the Lehigh Valley. Because unless I was in Hazelton during like night or later at night, when people were going back and forth from the factories, I really didn't get too much up here in this area. I did notice it was a little bit cheaper than Uber. I would do some rides where I would take somebody from Lansford over into Nesquehoning to a job and it would cost them like $12, $13. From a house in Lansford over to, there's up the road going towards hometown from Nesquehoning. I would take them up that way and drop them off in one of the factories there and it was costing me anywhere between 12 and 15 bucks each way.
So if you times that by,
But then my son was taking Uber, and when we had a bad snowstorm, somebody who was closer, when he was going to work, it only cost like, I think it was $20 to $21, but then when he was trying to come home and the snow had stopped and the woman was right there, it cost almost $100 to get him home.
Yeah.
So it was ridiculous. It was because of the time frame the time of day that it was, that he was being picked up to come home. And the circumstances of the roads and,
How are the prices set? I'm just curious, how are the prices set?
It goes by peak hours.
yeah.
It goes by hours, what, you know, what the main hours, what the peak hours, you're gonna pay more money. Summit Hill to, Jim Thorpe is about $45 one way. It's not, it doesn't make any sense and it's not feasible for anybody to pay that for one way.
And it just changed, cause I used to take Uber like 10 years ago when it first started. And
Yeah.
it seemed to be the same no matter what time I went, the same route.
It's
The
the
rural
peak
areas,
times.
it's the rural areas. They're-
Busier times are when you're gonna get hammered more, because there's more demand.
And they know we don't have a bus system. They know we don't have a bus.
It's not for
system
the
in Carbon
drivers, it's for the
County.
company.
It's for the company.
Yeah, it's for the company. I
So
mean,
they can't charge
we get
more.
our 100% of our tips, but the company decides on what the fare is for peak hours and things like that. Like, we don't make the fares, we don't decide the fares. Because if I took people off the app, after I gave them a couple rides, consistently, I would give them rides off the app back and forth to work. And I had a couple of clients where I was doing on a regular basis every day of the week from work. And I wasn't charging the prices that Lyft or Uber was. I was a little bit less. They would pay me one flat fee at the beginning of the week and I'd take them all week long.
I hope Lyft isn't listening to this.
They encourage you
Yeah,
to take
if you
people off
get-
the app if you
get in
can.
an accident and with doing
And
that, you're
sure.
taking a big chance. It has to be someone you trust, you know, okay, you trust.
Yeah,
They charge more money for the rural areas that don't have bus systems. They know they can get more money, so they charge more money.
It's just like when you go to an airport, the fees are outrageous.
And
like-
my son had an issue, with the Carbon County Transit too. He got approved for it, but he was working in the Heighton and his hours weren't the time of like Monday, Wednesday, Friday was up to Walmart and Giant and that was fine and dandy. But then what does he do if he's working on Tuesday and Thursday and working the weekends when the buses don't run? Then it was like, well, then he's scrambling for a ride and then people are trying to gouge him for money for their, as far as rides going back and forth to work on the weekends. So it was horrible for him. It was just really tough for him to be able to maintain a job because of the fact that transportation was such an issue.
And I think that Lyft and Uber, it's good if if an elderly or somebody wants to go out shopping for the day or something like that, or once in a while rides here and there, but for a consistent ride to work every day, it's just not
Can
feasible.
I ask a couple questions regarding that? So the insurance piece, did they help with the insurance or how was that coordinated? You had to have a certain amount privately or?
They want you to prove that you have insurance, period, and you have to you're supposed to let the insurance company that you have know that you drive for Lyft or Uber. And I guess that depends on whether you do or not, that depends on what your rate's gonna be as far as what you pay for insurance. And they just make it, you're covered better if you let your insurance company know that you drive for Uber or Lyft.
It has to be full coverage.
Yeah, it has to be full coverage and you get more, it's safer if you have the full coverage and if they know that you're driving for Lyft or Uber. Everybody's more protected.
Uber's stricter too.
Yeah, Uber is a lot more stricter than Lyft.
even when I was a case manager 100 years ago in the field. That was one of the questions my insurance company always asked, are you transporting any clients? No, never.
Same here. It's like I was saying, like, that if our teams would find somebody the night of the county, as far as getting them to the shelter, I know none of us are insured to take anybody there, but.
But that's like
But
a
it,
a
it's doing a
one-time
privately,
thing, yeah.
one-time thing, yeah,
I gave a friend a lift.
but I know
you
from your employer status.
Tough.
So, yeah, I mean, transportation, and it's a vicious cycle, certainly. Your car breaks down, you lose your job, then you lose your house, then you land a family promise or the Heighton, and it's.
And family that's getting evicted, they have no transportation, they can't even get out to look at the apartments. I say, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna move? I can't even get out there to talk to the landlord. You know,
You can only look at, you get so much out of the pictures on
They're on
Zillow.
social security. They're on a set income every month and with, I mean, I know of, and I just recently found this out. There's a developer from out past Music that has just come in and purchased a bunch of homes. And they plan on flipping them, but they're not gonna be affordable rents. They just bought up a few. They even asked if I wanted to sell my house. I'm like, Because that is the ongoing thing, which again puts our clients at risk for homelessness. So like, what is the goal? Shared housing? I mean, I've heard of that before. It's a great idea, providing, they're aware of the risks, or if there was a way to set up suitable people with thorough background checks, yeah, that's a great idea. But what are the goals? Like, what are the goals for the future in our county? Because for the amount of homeless people, there isn't enough housing even for them. Even if they could afford it, there's still not enough rentals for all the homeless.
I've been on the listing for Carbon County PA rentals. And I just looked at which ones were under 1,000. I didn't even bother with, and there's a handful of $800-900 ones. And they're scattered, Lansford, Nescahoning, Summit Hill. Not one in Lehighton. Everything in Lehighton is over $1,000.
And some of them are not even habitable.
No.
The ones in Lansford are not,
And Taj
are not
Mahal.
habitable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's great, it's $900, but it's not habitable.
Mhm.
And people that are on SSI, they only get if they get the max, what is it, 969?
998, 998 around there.
Where are they going?
That's kind of why I was
Lucas
asking.
County, they get on the,
What are,
Yeah,
what
that's
are-
what
the
the
start,
county-
if you're homeless,
is
you're
there
moved to
help?
the top of the
Say,
list.
sorry, our county has no help. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm hoping we can get something out of in our next housing committee. I've asked the same question, what are the goals, short-term and long-term, what are the goals? And I'm not sure we all know, and anybody that has any insight they're welcome to come to that meeting. And I'm hoping you invite the county commissioners as well to that meeting. I would like to have some thought process and start setting some short-term and long-term goals. I'm not sure we currently have it. I mean, I'm just speaking from my side, I was lost after the last couple.
I agree.
I know there's more families in the Pender Valley School District that are sleeping in their cars, which is, there's a lot more out there than what we see, even that, like, I'm just,
Absolutely.
Do they know to call 211?
yes,
They do know, okay.
yes.
They're afraid to get their kids taken away.
That,
Yep.
exactly,
Yep.
whoever said that, that is the biggest issue. I'll stay in my car first before I lose my kids.
Same reason why we sometimes find it difficult with this count, because they're trying to avoid people that will find them. Not only do they not want to stay exactly where they stayed the night before, because they're also afraid we'll tell the authorities and they'll get pushed out of where they're staying, so. But everything is confidential from what we find, from whatever is told during the
But
interviews.
unless they trust you, they're not like, they don't know me, they're not gonna trust me. I can tell them all I want, we're not here to call children and youth, we're here to help you. They're gonna say, I don't know you, I don't trust you.
Right, and we respect that, walk away, we do an observation. We make it, fill out a survey based on an observation. And that observation should have as much specifics on it as possible, so I could compare it to other things, but they don't want you just to assume something, because we had situations in the past where some gentleman is sleeping behind the wheel in his truck over at the Whitesport Park, just sitting there sleeping in his truck. Somebody did an observation that he was homeless. I said, did you see anything in the truck that made you believe he was living out of that truck? Well, no. He could have been sleeping there waiting for his son to come out of the grandmother's house, because, the child was visiting the grandmother that day and he was there after work. So you have to look at it, and it's gotta be apparent that these people are sleeping out of their car.
But aside of the count, what do we do to help them?
That's the problem.
You
That's the
know,
issue.
there's no
Right
housing.
now,
There's no, what do we, helps limited, what are we doing? Or what can we do to help?
and this
We
is
should
where
advise them to move down south where it's warmer and easier to be homeless.
Wait,
I
they
agree
put
with
us
you.
out of business.
We need to set some goals, I agree.
It's
And they may
helping
not be
some.
homeless. Yes, some are homeless by choice, but they may not be homeless. That family may not be homeless by choice.
Well, sure, and we, those are the folks that we run into, that it's circumstantial, and, they come to us and they're freaked out, and I can't believe I'm in a shelter kind of thing, but they're motivated, they just need that little hand up. There's also people that have come to, excuse me?
Good.
There's also people that have applied to the emergency shelter that we've been homeless for 6 years. Is that a choice or, you know? 6 years is a long time.
Patience.
That's what I'm gonna say, we have the housing committee. But and I'm sitting here listening to this whole thing, and Donna and I actually talked before on our ride up here. Is, do we need to get more kind of working things instead of coming here once a month and, kind of going through our statistics and, okay, here we are, and we haven't moved on much of anything. That we have smaller groups that have some goals that they're individually working on. That, we either look at doing like a whole, strategic plan or an analysis of some sort to look at what are our strengths and weaknesses, where are our opportunities, and start having some solid goals and objectives that we're working towards.
That's why I brought this up. I want us, it's great that we have the task force meetings and I like that we can come here and brainstorm and present the statistics. But I want the working groups. I want them to have specific goals and where are we going?
As an agency that works with this population on a regular basis, Jess gave her report at the beginning about the cold weather shelter, and okay, we said 2 people to detox already. And of course, that was through our office, and then, another one to rehab this past week. But I sit with these people, I go through all of it, and I go, they don't have a chance in hell. Because I'm sending them off to this, whatever, then they're coming right back and they're homeless again. Like how that, it's just like a hamster on a wheel.
It's the same thing with 211. You have them call 211 and they're just going to refer them to the same agencies that are here, that are limited what we.
But I get them there, they get, they get detox, they get on a road to going in the right direction, but then they're coming right back out and they're homeless again. Like
The resources.
the ability
I
to stay
agree.
sober in that situation is really, not a strong possibility that that's gonna happen.
And if we want to develop some more working committees, throw it out there. We can ask for, volunteers to work on those committees. But I said the same thing just about the housing committee, that I think we need to, I said this now, the last time we met, we were talking around afterwards around the table is, about some of the things that were happening and the lack of participation from, landlords. We've talked to some since who said they'd be willing to talk, in some cases. But, I said the same thing. I started getting lost myself because I said, I no longer know what our goals are, because the access is that there is no housing. And I don't know how you change that when somebody that just came through your rehab is participating against another 15 families for the same unit. And those 15 families have sparkling histories. I don't know how they compete.
And halfway houses for these individuals, they can say in rehab, we want to go to a halfway house or sober living. They're limited too, because most people going into rehab are just like our individual this week. They're homeless, so you're competing for the same spots. So where do we go from here? Like, I mean, I really wish I had the answer. I mean, but I just see like what is available, what could be a goal short term, like Jamie said, because we've talked about this continuously about having goals to help the homeless population, whether they're affected by substance abuse or not. Like my families, they're the families, they are not the person suffering from substance use disorder. Half of them are on the verge of being homeless because you have investors buying their building, raising the rents, and I got grandma and grandpa raising their grandchildren. So, okay, what do I do with grandma and grandpa and 2 kids? Because the rents are just going up ridiculously high unless the building's a slump. And that's a lot with, I hate to say it, a lot with
Well,
Lansford.
I think that,
You know.
I think that, we talked about setting goals for the homeless, the housing committee. And I think that we have to work with that, or if you wanna set up a separate, like, I don't know what other committees.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just saying if, you know, if they're, you know, or maybe once we come up and if other people want to participate in establishing some of those goals, please do, you know, I
Right.
mean. And maybe once some of those goals are established, maybe other, then working
Yeah.
committees can come from that.
Right,
To start, because, you know, then let's start working towards some of those.
Cause the other piece is, let's think about when we started this up,
I'm sorry.
how many people were here?
Oh, yeah.
I just turned around and I'm like, okay, well, there's the two ladies from Family Promise, there's FHDS.
There were two more that were here that left.
So
Yeah, and well, that's Curly.
So I do think there's some opportunities and, you know, the senior home share program is a model that's out there. Could something be modeled similar to that, that could be utilized across the board? Because again, there's the homeless person and then there's a person who could be needing additional income. So how do both those worlds meet? You know, I can speak flippant here. If somebody was here in children and youth, they would say, being a foster parent is very difficult because you know what you're getting yourself into. So in some aspects, it's that same thought process of you gotta know what you're getting yourself into. Is that an option for some people? I don't know, but it's a thought. How else? Landlord engagement, trying to have those landlords who you meet with, and it's that same mindset. Look, you know what you're gonna get yourself into, but you gotta trust us. For the past 3 months, 6 months, they've been working with us. They seem to have turned the corner. They would say, it's no guarantee, but at least there's a track record than you just going out there on the open market and saying, okay, John Smith, come into the house. At least you've got a track record by these agencies to be able to say, here's a relationship that we have with that person to build upon. So that's two options right there. And then the third option is obviously to try to build. Build isn't quick.
Right.
Well, so we have, when is that? The 26th of March?
Yeah.
So I hope everyone can attend the housing committee that's interested. Are you gonna have a call-in for that too?
I can.
Yeah, that would maybe
That would
make
be
it
good.
more available to folks. All right, let's schedule our next meeting. And Jamie, I want to talk to you. If you would guys be interested in coming to our emergency shelter.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, sounds good. I'm looking at, and I contacted Mike and Wayne, and they didn't have any updates there at some of the meetings this morning.
I felt that.
But I'm gonna ask Commissioner Sefranco if you can bring somebody in from the transportation, because I've validated that it wasn't just me. They can't understand that whole system.
No, it's not.
CCI bus and it's Carter County Transit bus and it was hard to understand and figure out when you could get on the bus to go shopping or get on the bus for doctor's appointments or whatever. It's just a big jumbled mess. It's hard to understand. It's very confusing.
Kathy, there's the woman on Rosemary Lister's meeting. That was just earlier in the week. I couldn't be on it. What was that, Wednesday?
Yes, Larissa.
I mean, is she running? Is Larissa the woman who's running the meeting, the transportation meeting after that meeting?
Yes, she's committee chair.
So
Hi, guys. This is Suzanne. I'm also on that committee with Larissa Kimmel, and our next meeting is going to be next month on the 11th. We can send out invitation. We have someone from Atlanta that's going to be talking about, I think it's share ride as well. So if anyone is interested, I will let Larissa send you an invite. It's Teams meeting.
yes, Suzanne, I'm definitely interested. Please.
Wonderful. So I'll just forward that invite to you
Okay.
guys.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Is that a transportation meeting? Is that what it is?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Part of the collaborative. As a committee under the collaborative.
Okay.
And I'm looking at February 20th. How does that work for everybody?
That works.
All right, we'll do February 20th. I don't know if the guy that's running our IT here, because it's open, but we'll put it for February 20th.
Sounds good.
Who is Mark on the screen? Is that the guy controlling?
Yeah, the one, with the emblem,
Yeah.
that's just there. That's
No, but
here.
who's Mark on the screen? Is
Oh, I
that-
don't know.
Is that Mark Clayton?
Mark Clayton. Oh, okay.
Hi, Mark.
Clayton? Yes. Thank you.
He's from the.
Mark and Grace Clayton, yeah, they're part of the cold weather station.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
Mark
wasn't
was the
certain. I
eighth.
didn't know Mark might have been doing everything remote there too.
Oh, there they
And he's gonna be
are.
on our board as.
Right.
Oh, nice.
No, they said that they were interested. All right, folks, thanks, everyone. One's coming.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good one.